The Tennessee Titans came into 2025 with three clear starting cornerbacks. It was Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and L'Jarius Sneed on the outside, and Roger Mccreary on the inside. Now, 8 weeks in, less than halfway through the season, they're about to start three entirely new players. One of their three original starters is on IR at this point, and the other two have been traded. Now, no one's super shocked to see L'Jarius Sneed missing time because, unfortunately, and frankly, it's what he's done mostly while he's been here in Tennessee. But Jarvis Brownlee Jr. traded to the Jets, and now Roger Mccreary traded to the Rams this week, bring up some interesting conversations about why you'd trade away talented young corners in the first place. Why did this front office just trade them both for day three pick swap? Now, there's a story for each of these guys that's important, but both cases, I think, are perfect examples of the fundamental problem that Titans leadership has brought upon themselves by constantly churning regimes. Let's talk about it. If you're part of the Tennessee faithful, you know just how many years the Titans have shaved off your life with the emotional roller coaster of sports. Or maybe the roller coaster of life is messing with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals. The new year is a blank space for you to write a new story. BetterHelp makes it easier to get started. They are our incredible sponsor for this video. Regardless, if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools you need to approach your life in a very different way. That's where our sponsor, BetterHelp, comes into play. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. Easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost if it's not the right fit. BetterHelp's platform makes finding a therapist easier because it's online and remote. BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. Plus, with our link, you get 10% off your first month. Start fresh any day of the year with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/ATOZsports and get 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp. With Brownlee, it was a culture fit problem. The trade is never going to look like a good one to us on Sundays because on Sundays, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is a good player, especially when he's able to play as a nickel corner, which he's doing in New York, something that he was not able to do here in Tennessee because Roger Mccreary existed. Now, how good a player he is or how good a player he may become, that was just never the driving factor behind the decision to move him in the first place. It's part of the equation, but based on how he played in Tennessee and how he's now playing in New York, it's clearly not all of it. With Mccreary, this was simply a get something now instead of nothing for him in 2 months when he walks at the end of his deal situation, right? He's somebody that this front office had no intention of signing. So if you have no intention of signing him, if that's the premise, trading him now for literally anything is better than getting 9 more games of his services, starting caliber services, but if we're being honest, services that weren't helping the team win ball games, not even close. They're still getting killed with or without him. So they traded a 5th, 6th round swap for 9 games of losing service. That's fair. That's understandable. I don't think you can really quibble with the idea that you should get something for him now instead of nothing after 9 games. You can, however, quibble with the idea that they shouldn't have paid him at all. This idea that they were working off of, that we don't want to sign this homegrown, talented, starting caliber player at the end of his rookie contract. And that's what brings us to the issue that I see with both of these guys, and I think that we're kind of seeing around the league right now. It's not exclusive to the Titans. It's what happens when teams come under new management, when regimes change. Players who were understood to be good, starting caliber, maximized in their role guys can suddenly fall out of favor. I think we saw it in New England also this week when they traded the edge rusher Keon White. Just never quite panned out, but was a really high caliber draft pick. So he's going to San Francisco for a bit of a rehab situation. And then Kyle Duggar, the safety who they traded, is somebody that they just signed this past season to a big contract, and now he's being sent away. These are guys that with Mike Vrabel's regime coming in just didn't quite fit. That's not to say that they're bad players necessarily or total busts or not worth having on anybody's team. But when new people come in who have fresh perspectives, fresh eyes, different opinions, different preferences, new schemes that maximize players differently, roles that play to slightly different strengths and weaknesses. It causes some guys to fall by the wayside. This happens pretty much every time there's a big shift in leadership in the NFL. I think we may even be seeing it right now in Jacksonville with Brian Thomas Jr., who isn't playing super well, and he and Trevor Lawrence aren't quite on the same page, and they aren't going to trade him. They say that they are listening to trade offers is the latest buzz, which is ridiculous. They're not actually listening for a guy that's played 20 games in his 25 games in his career, was the 17th overall pick, I think, in 2024, was a phenom as a rookie. They're not giving up on him that quickly. But the fact that we're even hearing from anybody in the league that, oh, well, they're listening, they're listening to trade offers, indicates that it's just something not quite working out with this new GM and the new coach. Maybe they'll figure it out, right? I think they'll stick it out with a guy like him and really give it a try, but it's a rocky road so far, and he has taken a step back from the incredible start that he had in his rookie year. These are all examples of how this happens, and I think that with Mccreary and Brownlee, it's a simple situation that this team, this tag team of Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker, they prefer longer cornerbacks. Brownlee and Mccreary were not that. With Brownlee, maybe they stick it out because he's cost controlled. If there wasn't a culture fit element to it that they, will never know the details of publicly. But with Mccreary, I just don't think they were ever going to give him that money. That's why we were kind of talking about it openly. This was not a guy that was going to be around long and is a pretty reasonable trade chip for them, which is what he ended up becoming. And listen, these two guys want to build their team as they see fit. That's their right. That's bound to mean a difference in public and internal opinion on some of the guys on the roster. Bottom line, this isn't a blanket defense of the way that they see roster building. It is a plea to stop the regime change, whether you think that they are not giving these guys enough patience, or you think that the guys that have been fired deserve to be fired, but they should stop hiring guys that need to be fired so quickly. Whether it's on the front end or the back end of these regime changes that you have an issue, the point is they have to stop. They have to stop for the sake of the roster, for the sake of the health of the franchise, for the sake of Cam Ward. This is just one rather large example of a handful, really, of unforced errors that this rotating door of leadership has caused. They need to pick the people that they want to build this roster back up from the ash heap that it has become, give them the runway to actually build something here, and most importantly, mean it. For A to Z Sports Nashville, I'm Easton Freeze.